Breakfast Club, bitches.
You're a donkey.
Donkey of the day for Monday, July 13th goes to Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. If you are a parent like me, then we all will be faced with a tough decision this coming fall, and that's whether or not to send our kids back to school in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. I have three beautiful daughters. One is on her way to 7th grade. The other is going to kindergarten. By the way, my oldest daughter got her 6th grade report card yesterday. First honors, okay? All her grades are an A or better with no grade below an A-. Dropping the clues bombs from my oldest seed out here, okay? Way more book smart than her dad ever was. She gets all that from her mama. And I told her yesterday, great job, because, you know, kids had to do the last few months, you know, from home. She had to do the last few months of 6th grade from home. And that Zoom school life was an adjustment. I don't know if parents, you know, saw their kids perform better or worse, but I know for those young kids not going to school, getting out of your parents' house for a while during the day, interacting with your peers, you know, that social interaction, all of that helps with their development as young adults. You know, even being able to do your schoolwork from home, I would think takes a different level of discipline to do, you know, getting up, getting online, you know, my daughter having to do her reports, her projects, making sure all those things are done on time. No one is there to really push you the way a teacher would. You really have to do a lot of heavy lifting on your own. That's got to be emotionally and mentally tough for these kids. But my daughter did that, okay? Made first honors, and I'm proud of her. But like many parents, I want her back in school, you know, more so for her than me. But I'm not putting her back in school if it's not secure or safe. And parents, I hate to tell you, it doesn't look like it will be. Now, America, you do realize we are running on autopilot at this point in time. Okay, Canada, I know you're listening to us on Flow 93.5. I want you to know that America has zero leadership. If Thanos came to Earth right now and said, take me to your leader, I would take him to Tamika Mallory. Drop on a clues bomb for Tamika Mallory. I'm dead serious. I wouldn't take him anywhere near the White House because nobody there knows what the hell they are doing. Okay, Betsy DeVos was doing media rounds this weekend, and she was on CNN, and listen to what she had to say when Dana Bush asked her yes or no about yes or no, can you assure students, teachers, and parents that they can't get coronavirus if they go back to school? Listen to this.
The U.S. hit a record number of new cases on Friday. The number of new cases per day is higher now in 45 of the 50 states than when schools shut down in March. Hospitalizations are climbing in several states, and some ICUs are at or near capacity. So, yes or no, can you assure students, teachers, parents that they will not get coronavirus because they're going back to school?
Well, the key is that kids have to get back to school, and we know there are going to be hot spots, and those need to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But the rule should be that kids go back to school this fall. They've been missing months of learning. Many of them are going to be so far behind, it's difficult to catch up. And we know that this is a matter of their health in a multitude of factors. We know that their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, and particularly for kids from low-income and vulnerable populations, this is devastating to be out of school and not learning for months on end.
Madam Secretary, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. But the question is, can it happen safely?
Well, we know that children get the virus at a far lower rate than any other part of the population. And again, there is nothing in the data that would suggest that kids being back in school is dangerous to them.
You know why Betsy DeVos can't answer that simple yes or no question from Dana Bash? Because she knows the answer is no. She can't ensure nobody's safety, but she has her marching orders from the celebrity in chief, and so she has to stick to the script. Act like everything is, hey, okay, everything's all right, we'll be fine, just a little flare-up. Betsy, we all know kids need to be back in school. That's obvious. But the question is, can they go back to school without getting sick? Can they go to school without contracting coronavirus and bringing it home to their older parents, to older people in the neighborhood? Can they go to school without giving it to teachers, older people who have underlying health conditions? This whole anything goes mentality that the Trump administration has is exactly why America is in the position that it's in now. Does Betsy DeVos know that a new study from the Kaiser Family Foundation shows that nearly a quarter of teachers have underlying health conditions, or they are at an age that places them in the highest risk category for serious coronavirus complications? Betsy DeVos, how are you still calling what's happening in America right now little flare-ups? The USA just recorded its highest one-day spike in new coronavirus cases 2 days ago. The highest one-day spike in new coronavirus cases since the pandemic started. 66,000 people in 1 day. What about that sounds like a little flare-up, okay? Herpes is a little flare-up, all right? Not 66,000 cases of coronavirus in 1 day. I just left my home state of South Carolina. Mounts Kona 843, what's happening? South Carolina has the third highest coronavirus rate in the world. A lot of Trump supporters down there buying into the administration's BS, and they not wearing masks or shoes in South Carolina. Okay, barefoot, bare mouth, just out there bare. And guess what? That's y'all fault, because the Trump administration thinks ignoring a problem is going to make it go away, but it's not. Side note, I did 2 of my own coronavirus testing this weekend in North Charleston, South Carolina, with DHEC and MUSC Health. Tested over a couple thousand people, because if the government isn't going to do what they need to do, I guess us private citizens with resources have to. Now, Betsy DeVos and the Trump administration, they're not connected to reality. Betsy DeVos said a whole lot of nothing on CNN, but there's one particular part of this conversation that lets me know that she's not even in the same galaxy as the rest of us, okay? She might have came from where Thanos came from. Listen to this.
We know that their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, and particularly for kids from low-income and vulnerable populations, this is devastating to be out of school and not learning for months on end.
The impact of being out of the classroom would be particularly devastating to low-income children. First of all, duh. Second of all, Betsy DeVos, do you see the impact coronavirus is having on low-income communities where those children live? That's why they're low-income children, because they live in those low-income communities. You know, those same communities that y'all ignore on the regular. Betsy, there's this thing called a study. And back in May, those studies found that low-income communities have been hit the hardest by COVID-19. Not just the health impact, but the financial impact. Lack of income because of the economic crisis is disproportionately affecting the very same neighborhoods that are seeing the brunt of the health crisis. The poor neighborhoods filled with black and brown folks. You know why? Because the systemic racism that caused the hood to have all these underlying health conditions already will always make us the most vulnerable for anything. So don't attempt to act like you care about those low-income children now when it fits your agenda or fits the narrative you're trying to push, because you haven't cared about those low-income children and those low-income communities in the hood for years. Only in America does the Secretary of Education lack education. Please let Chelsea handle my light work.
Hee-haw, hee-haw. That is way too much Dan mayonnaise.
All right. Oh, the mayonnaise. The mayonnaise was heavy in that one.
Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.